welcome back to yet another video for the All Black fan page on YouTube. It's your boy Max hosting the channel, and today I've got a rather different topic to discuss with all of you guys who are watching the video. So Super Rugby Aotearoa last year was overwhelmingly positively received by fans, journalists, analysts, and just New Zealanders alike. It's now being streamed in 100 countries or more for the second season of it overseas by Rugby Pass, but is Super Rugby Aotearoa truly the way that we want to go? And if borders open back up, do we seriously want to pit ourselves against Australia even more? My answer to that is I would not like to see that. So in today's video, I'm going to discuss how New Zealand rugby should move forward in regards to how we sort of, pick our All Blacks and how we get them to play for their clubs and what clubs they should play for. So firstly, I'll explain my opinion on the Mitre Cup and what we can do about that. The Mitre Cup, I think, is a great platform for young players to make their names known. Look at all the names coming out of that competition. We've had Seta Tamanivalu become an All Black, George Moala become an All Black, we've had Luke Romano head back in there and get the Dwayne Monkley medal. We've had old boys come back to New Zealand rugby and spend time as a player/coach. We've seen the dominance of Ash Dixon over the years. We've seen Lachlan Boshier and now his brother Calum. We've started to see Falau Fakatava, Devin Flanders, Lincoln McClutchy. We've started to see Revez Reihana. We've started to see Connor Garden Bishop. And there's been amazing players taking the field in the Mitre Cup. And without all the competitiveness within a small Super Rugby squad of 38 players, you can really see the depth of the wider squad of who would be in Super Rugby, and you can get to see those players who are on the fringes. But for some reason, fan attendance just continues to dip. You know what the reason is? Simple. The All Blacks just aren't getting released to play for their clubs often enough. And it's really important for some of these All Blacks to head out and play for their provinces. Northland, for example, made the final of the Division 2 for the first time in, I think, 38 years in 2020. And Jack Goodhue, who plays for Northland when he's not with the All Blacks, couldn't even come along because he was stranded in Australia, and he would have had to isolate for 2 weeks just to come and play for Northland in a final. And how amazing would that feel? I think that it's been really sad to see a lack of crowd attendance in all these Mitre Cup matches, because back in the glory days of the competition in, the 1960s, 1970s, stadiums were chocker. They were packed, bro. Look at all these old photos of the MPC, as it was once called, and you'll see so many people turning out to see the Brook Brothers, turning out for John Kirwan, turning out for Sir Colin Meads. I mean, I'm speechless looking at all these old photos I'm showing you right now. It just doesn't make sense. A lot of people, sure, they want to watch and, sit at home on the TV, but because there's no All Blacks, they just lose their motivation to go out and buy a ticket. When you don't know the names of the second choice players in your province, it's not much use sending your kids out to get a photo with them, is there? There's no use for it. And when it comes to Super Rugby, I'm going to kind of cover the money side of things. Now, previously in my life, I have owned a small business, so I do have a fair bit of experience when it comes to budgeting and things like that. So in terms of your budget, you have to have a salary cap, just like in the Mitre Cup. But because Super Rugby requires so much time spent on travelling to overseas countries, like, for example, over the last 10 years, we've had to go to South Africa, Japan, and Argentina, and in 2011's case, due to the Christchurch earthquake, you've even had to go all the way to London just for a week. Then the following week, you're playing in a totally different hemisphere. I mean, the Super Rugby competition just has not been healthy for players. Look at Sam Whitelock. It's broken his body, man. Sam Whitelock, I even recall, was stating in an article in 2019 that had New Zealand rugby not bent the rules to allow him to remain an All Black whilst playing in Japan, he likely would have retired at 30 years old. Now, a lot of players continue to play into their mid-30s. I mean, Bryn Evans, Richie McCaw, Brian O'Driscoll, Alan Wynne-Jones, Johnny Sexton are just a few names that pop into my head. I mean, Peter Stringer, who once played for Ireland, once played into his 40s. John Afoa, the former All Black, he wants to play into his 40s. But when you're going round into different continents on a regular basis, year in, year out, it begins to drain your body and you can't play at an elite level because you're so jet lagged. I know that everyone's going to comment, these are professional athletes, they should be used to it, but do you truly believe that it's healthy to spend so much time away from your family just to get paid? And the issue is, rugby isn't even a job that's going to, get you sorted long term. The likes of Kieran Reid once earned $1 million a year for New Zealand rugby, but if you're just a young kid who's 19, like Jacob Neepkins or Josh Lord, for example, you don't think about that kind of stuff. And at such a young age, you're really getting drained. Super Rugby is not healthy. And if Super Rugby Aotearoa goes back to the Super Rugby of old, fan attendance will dip down once again. It's not sustainable, the Super Rugby model. And I understand that everyone's become attached to all these teams, but Super Rugby Aotearoa isn't sustainable either. Consider the impact that's going to have on the player's body. Because it's a very short competition in its current format, it's pretty brutal on the bodies of the players. I mean, look at somebody like Big Carl or Nepo Laulala playing in the front row. When you're playing against fellow test level players for 8 weeks straight of a year, it's just not healthy for you either. So no matter what you're going to get out of Super Rugby, it's going to be a lose-lose. And I don't want to see us playing Australia at club level at all anymore. Because I think that actually New Zealand rugby is starting to lose talent in regards to players, because we're starting to have to compete with basketball so much more ferociously. Same goes for rugby league. Australia has now become a country which has NRL for a national sport. I mean, I don't watch rugby league personally, but it's a pretty massive loss for New Zealand, starting to lose all these talents to head overseas and do things like that. There's exceptions to the rules like Roger Tuivasa-Sheck or Sonny Bill Williams and Matt Duffy, but man, come on. You've got to change something, because regardless of where Super Rugby's going, it's not going to work. And if we're playing Australia, because they've lost all that talent already, it's happened already for Australia, it's not going to work either. Because if you're playing weaker opposition on a regular basis, it's in turn going to make you lesser of a player. Think about it. If you're playing stronger opposition more frequently, it's going to make you a better player, a harder worker, more talented, more skillful. But if you're constantly playing weaker opposition, for example the Sunwolves, and going away with a 50-point win, in terms of margin even, it just isn't going to work, man. Personally, I'd like to see Super Rugby scrapped, and I'd like to see the All Blacks return to the Mitre 10 Cup. If they're returning to the Mitre 10 Cup, you can have a longer competition, and you can spread all these Super Rugby players out a bit further. That way you can look at them all in their individual provinces rather. When it comes to these fringe players, such as Brett Cameron, who can't really get much game time at the Crusaders, you can see how much game time they're going to have for Manawatu. And you can really see the true level of skill that they have, because they're not biding their time behind a Richie Mo'unga, who's keeping them out from fulfilling their potential. Having 5 Super Rugby teams really dilutes the pool when it comes to international selection. And going back to provinces like Taranaki, going back to Southland, is going to open the pool far more, whereas at Super Rugby, it's a lot more diluted. And if All Blacks are back at their Mitre 10 Cup clubs, well then, easy, more profit. And if you're not travelling to Australia, hint hint, that's also more profit. So to conclude my video, the argument is keep the All Blacks into their provinces. That way they can help out the young boys and really give them some more advice on how to improve their game. And we can really just keep the spirits of everybody healthy. we can waste less money, and obviously these young kids dreaming of playing for their provinces don't have to look at all this commercial flim-flam with the logos, the this, the that. It really strengthens our community if we're all going out to our provinces and watching the games. So that's going to be it for the video, guys. I hope Super Rugby goes. I hope Mitre gets healthier. And I hope that the All Blacks never die out. It's Max, signing out once again. Thank you for watching, guys.